With us now, Democratic Congressman from Maryland and ranking member of the House Oversight Committee and a good friend of mine, Congressman Elijah Cummings. How are you doing, Elijah?
It's good to be with everybody.
So Boehner there, man, the speaker's getting a little excited. You think he's feeling a little pressure from the freshmen?
Oh, he's feeling a lot of pressure. And the Tea Partiers are battling hard. And you know what? I don't think, no matter what the president does, no matter what the Senate does, the Tea Partiers, I don't think, are going to be satisfied. They're in town today, right, and they're putting on a lot of pressure. So
the House has passed a bill. The Senate has not passed anything
yet.
Do you expect the Senate to pass it? Have you heard from Democrats in the Senate that they're going to move anything soon?
I understand they're trying to do something. There's some reports that there's some negotiations about to go on or going on. Right. But it's hard to say. I just don't think that the Republicans in the House are going far enough. In other words, they're talking about now, we've already had $10 billion worth of cuts. Now they're talking about another $23 billion, and basically the Republicans are not budging, as you well know. But now they're supposed to be doing some talking.
And so the Speaker, I understand, is starting to talk to Democrats.
Yes, because he's going to need them.
He's going to try to work a deal with the Blue Dog Democrats instead of, and he's going to have to say goodbye to a lot of his freshmen.
No doubt about
on this vote. Is that a dangerous thing for a speaker to do, whether it's Nancy Pelosi or whether it's John Boehner now doing it?
I think it's a dangerous thing for Boehner, and I think it really...
And we're just talking politically for him.
I'm talking about just politically. Yeah. I think it splits his party, and let me tell you another thing it does. It empowers, in a strange way, the Tea Partiers. Then they get even more upset. And you got to remember, these Tea Partiers are worried about primaries, Joe. Right. They're worried about folks even more conservative than they are challenging them. Right. So they figure, if he's got to go to Democrats, but I can tell you one, to get votes, so be it. But this is one vote they will not get.
No. Andrea Mitchell, John Boehner has earned high marks. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of Washington journalists have been surprised by how steady he has been. Do you suspect he's going to have to become more animated now to play to some of the more conservative elements of his caucus?
But he still wants an agreement. John Boehner, it strikes me, is a legislator. And I say that, I think you'd agree.
In a positive sense.
Yeah.
I agree.
He wants to get something done.
Isn't it weird? A lot of times we're surprised by people that get positions and let us down. This is John Boehner, and I know there are going to be a lot of bloggers. Didn't you know he did this? But he has been, for the most part, I think, a pleasant surprise for a lot of people about how responsible he's been and what a grown-up he's been.
Congressman, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, and I think that the Tea Partiers and the more conservative freshmen are so far to the right that I think it makes Boehner feel a little uncomfortable. And there's been talk that maybe there's a split between Cantor and Boehner. Mm-hmm. Boehner leaning more of a moderate. First of all the Republicans, Joe, are to the right.
We're talking moderate by some pretty conservative.
It was Sanders. That's exactly right.
You realize what trouble you're causing right now.
Exactly.
Well, why do you think he's doing it? Like Barack Obama. Like Barack Obama. Look at him laughing. Look at this. I saw him laughing.
I'm just calling it like I see it.
And by the way,
like Obama praising John Huntsman, right?
Yeah,
Congressman's deeply concerned about the discord in the Republican leadership.
So Pat Buchanan, if you're scoring at home, right? Barack Obama says that John Huntsman was a great member of the team.
Yes.
And David Axelrod said that Romney Care was the basis of Obamacare. And now Elijah Cummings says John Boehner is this type of
speaker. He's doing a wonderful job, Boehner is standing up to those Tea Party crazies.
Is there a split?
I didn't say that.
Pat, is there a split right now between Cantor and Boehner?
I think there is, and that's what I was going to ask the Congressman. What does Cantor do when they cut? I think Boehner's doing the right thing, quite frankly. They got to get a deal, I think, before the end of the year.
And the American people want compromise. I know.
And I think, and you're going to get, if you get 22, 23 billion more, that's half of what the Republicans started out. They wanted 60. We don't control the Senate.
Still not even
but I do think that Cantor is really saying to the Tea Party folks, I'm your guy, and I would have gone much harder. Right. But I think he's got a problem, too, because where does he go on this vote? I think he's got to vote with the leadership. He's part of it, doesn't he? You know better than I do.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Cantor has to, Andrea, we've seen it before. Cantor has got to go along with Boehner no matter what Boehner does.
For now.
For now.
And do enough for the Tea Party folks to let them know that he is their standard bearer down the road, the next leadership fight.
If you're in leadership, and I saw John Boehner doing this time and time again, Elijah, he disagreed with Newt Gingrich on policy issues, but when the vote went up, if you're in leadership or if you're a chairman of a big committee, you vote with the speaker or you're out.
Well, clearly the Republicans have been extremely disciplined with regard to issues that they really care about. But you got to keep in mind something. I do believe that Cantor will vote with Boehner. But and what he will say is, and what he's been saying to the Tea Party freshmen, he said, look, we've got 2 more shots at this. We've got the debt ceiling, and we've got the 2012 budget. And so he's figuring that even if they don't get everything they want right now, they're going to do it a little bit later on. So he has a plan. I believe Boehner has a plan, and that's what he's been telling them. And so they're kind of relying on this. Okay, well, we may have to hold our noses now, but he's still going to need Democratic votes, no matter what.
Right.
No matter what.
All right, so let's talk about the housing market, which is something you've talked about before on this show. It's clearly, some are even saying we could face a double dip. It's not looking good. And you've been working, Congress has been working to try and deal with the foreclosure crisis, which is something we haven't talked about lately.
Yeah.
And it's still very much an underlying key issue to the problems that we face.
No doubt about it. We had in government reform committee yesterday, we had Neil Barofsky, the IG for SIGTARP, and he talked about the problems with the HAMP program. Now, the Republican Congress has now eliminated all the prevention programs. I mean, they haven't eliminated them completely because it hasn't gone to the Senate, but they voted to eliminate all the programs that basically assist people in preventing foreclosure. And this HAMP program is a program that the president touted and believed that it would save some 3 to 4 million people's houses. But unfortunately, it didn't work that way. And it didn't work that way because a lot of people basically didn't qualify. Why? Because they had lost their jobs, or there were many who were making too much money, and we didn't want to be saving people's houses that could pay their mortgages. So there was a limited number of people that we could help. And that program has not helped as many people as we thought it would. But it's a start. And basically what the Republicans have done is said, look, let's get rid of that program. But they're not replacing it with anything. And that's the problem. And so we've got to, I think Geithner could do better, to be frank with you. I think he could do a lot better in making sure that we have programs to help people losing their houses.
How has the situation improved at all over the past 12 to 18 months?
Not really, because basically what you have, Joe, is you've got the servicers, the banks, and basically they're not cooperating. They're not pushing and allowing these modifications. And if you don't have the cooperation of the banks, you got a problem. And you've got to have a hammer over them, and there is no hammer. So that's a real, and so hopefully we will, what I was hoping to do, I said don't end the HAMP program, mend it, because there's still people who are suffering. I mean, I've got an event coming up on the 25th, my 6th event. I promise you, we will have grown men coming into that room crying, tears, because they're getting ready to lose their houses. And usually we save about 75 to 80% of them.
Wow.
Because we put the banks together with the borrowers and make them work out a a deal.
Huh?
I hope you were able to keep that going.
No,
Thank you very much for coming in, Congressman Elijah.
Right, I think y'all got me in some trouble.
You are in trouble.
No, John Boehner's the one that doesn't appreciate it. He's just enjoying that. Look at that. He loves it. He loves causing trouble for the speaker.